Here we go. We are live. Hey, everybody. This is the Live with Sondra show, and I want to welcome you today. We are exploring something that's changing the entire landscape of guest experiences, from ticketing to immersive storytelling. Today, we're talking AI, VR, and the rise of spatial computing. If you've ever wondered what the future of attractions looks like and how to use these tools to stay ahead, this episode will blow your mind. We've got one of the industry's top digital transformation leaders joining us to share what's next. So stick around, and I'll see you after the intro. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Live with Sondra show. I'm your host, Sondra Shannon, and today we're deep diving into the future of attractions, spatial computing, artificial intelligence, and how immersive technologies transform the guest experience. But first, a huge thank you to our sponsor, Gatemaster Technology. For over 30 years, Gatemaster has been the trusted point of sale and ticketing platform for attractions around the world. From mobile ordering to online sales and real-time data and integrated marketing tools, Gatemaster helps operators simplify their operations and stay ahead of the rapidly changing tech landscape. Thank you, Gatemaster Technology, for supporting today's conversation about innovation and the future of guest engagement. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our guest today. Now, I could not think of a better guest to have this discussion with us than Steve Smith, who is the CEO and president of Tollanis Solutions, Inc., where he helps organizations achieve digital transformation at a C-level. Before that, Steve started as a CIO for major brands like Orbitz and AutoTrader, leading technology initiatives that shaped how millions of people traveled and shopped online, including for iconic brands like AA.com. Having lived in 6 countries and traveled to more than 60 countries, that's my goals too, Steve brings a truly global perspective on how technology scales and how it can make or break the guest experience. And one thing Steve can't live without, his journal and his music, which I think is the perfect blend of reflection and rhythm that fuels both creativity and clarity. Please help me welcome Steve to the Live with Sondra show. Steve, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Really excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. So did I get the bio okay?
It's good. I've lived about 4 lifetimes in my 60 years on the planet, so it's good. It's perfect.
Well, I have to ask, because you mentioned music, and I'm a big music fan. What kind of music do you like?
So, as a kid, I was all pop rock. So think, 80s hair bands, Journey and Motley Crue and Def Leppard. But, my best friend and my music collaborator, we did a lot of Beach Boys, Elton John.
Oh, cool.
And then as the years moved on, I actually tried to embrace country. It was tough. But I was raised on country. My mom was actually a classically trained sopranist and pianist, sang at Carnegie Hall. So I had dreams of a kid of being a rock musician. And my buddy ended up heading off to California. He showed up at my house one night and he said, "I'm moving to California. I'm going to be a rock star. Get in the car and let's go." And I was like, "Yeah, I can't." And so he went off to California, became a sessions musician, worked with all kinds of amazing bands, and I went off and I joined the Army.
Wow. So what do you think about yacht rock?
Love rock. Yeah, one of my favorite eras. Love the music. Love yacht rock, and so it's my go-to comfort zone for music.
Yes, that's my husband and I too. Like, we are really enjoying yacht rock on satellite? Do you have Sirius?
We do. We've got XM in both of our vehicles, and so my
Yeah.
wife is a pop girl, so she loves everything that's modern and new, and she doesn't like old. But she knows all the old songs. So when we put them on, she sings along with me.
Hey, my kids sing along. I'm surprised. Like, actually, they got hooked on yacht rock before I did. My husband started playing it, and then I'm like, I remember these songs. You know, I think it's funny. Some of these hair bands actually are kind of getting lumped into some of the yacht rock genre, especially when it's like the softer, slower
Absolutely.
songs. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm really curious because you also mentioned that you have your journal and your music and you're balancing this structure and creativity. And I'm curious how those things, because you're a business owner, show up when it comes to your leadership and innovation.
So it's a paradox because typically you think of business people and especially technology people being very black and white, one and zero, very business and data driven.
Yeah.
And when I started my business, I started the company in 2009, and it was one of the things that I learned over the years as a technology executive. Everything comes back to the human. Everything comes back to the human. And
Yeah.
so, I've had the opportunity to work on projects where I spent hundreds of millions of dollars for the corporations I was working for. And, for a long time, 60% of IT projects failed out there. 60%. And the reason they fail is because user adoption, it's not the technology. It's because people didn't do the legwork and the homework to make sure that the application or the tool set or whatever it was is going to work with the consumer, with the end user, with the guest. And so, I think it's a very appropriate kind of conversation with attractions and events and entertainment because everything has to circle around the guest. And even if you look at guys like, Jeff Bezos, they have their virtuous circle at Amazon. Everything starts with the customer and then works back from there. So
Yes.
technology by itself is spectacular, but it's worthless unless it actually delivers something tangible for the human. And the same goes for AI and spatial computing and everything else we're going to talk about.
Well, cool, because you actually brought up spatial computing, and I know today's topic is spatial computing, AI, VR, the future of attractions, and this is a massive topic, like a massive topic. I don't know that we can cover it all in the short time that
We're
we
not.
have together,
We're not going to get through all of it.
but what I was really hoping for is that you would tell the audience and me, bring us up to speed. What is spatial computing for those of us that maybe never heard
Yeah.
that term?
So, I think it is the most exciting. AI is a component of that, believe it or not, but I think it is the most exciting space in technology today. So let me give you a quick scenario. So you're in your brand new Tesla that you just bought. You told Gronk to take you home. It's doing most of the driving. While that car is navigating, it's using spatial computing. It's shooting out LiDAR, radar, it's collecting digital imagery of the landscape, it's understanding the cars around it, it's understanding the buildings, it's reading signs, it's reading all of that is spatial computing. It's one
Yeah.
aspect of it. The other part of it is virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. That's all spatial computing. You're interacting and I love this new world, this new word that they use out there. It's a combination of the physical and the digital, and now you've got the phygital. So
Oh,
you've got this blending of the two together. Now, the other part of spatial computing, which hasn't hit yet, but think of Tony Stark in the Avengers movie, where he's talking to Jarvis and he's manipulating, holographic images and touching them and moving them. We're not that far away from that. So our interaction with the technology is going to become very, very physical. And if you look at big companies like Universal and Disney, who are spending the most money in this space, they're already pushing a lot of this technology into their attractions. It's the reason their attractions now, their big ones, cost $500 million to build or more, because they're putting so much tech in there. So when you look at this phygital environment between physical and digital, that's all the spatial computing. It's all of those components that bring all of this together and allow the human being to interact with that in a very, realistic way that really blends virtual reality and augmented reality together in this mixed augmentation in this spatial computing environment. So
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm a big fan of the Meta glasses. Have you ever tried those?
spatial computing, I love them.
Yeah, I love my Meta glasses. I don't travel without them. I have them next to my bed. They're always around. My son was just telling me yesterday, I haven't had a chance to look into it, but I think they're leaving Ray-Ban. And because they're going for what you're saying, where you can control what's on the screen.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really, really interesting. Although I'm going to get myself another pair of Ray-Bans because I saw these new white ones they have. They're really cool. But, it is fascinating to me how much we are interacting with this technology all the time and we don't even really realize it. And so thank you for explaining that. And we mentioned in your bio that you have been to over 60 countries, which, by the way, is like my goal to go to 60 countries.
I love travel. I love cultures. I've had the opportunity to live in the UK, Germany, Switzerland,
Wow.
India, China, and Korea. All those places. Germany, I was the longest. I was 3 years in Germany. All the others about a year and a half. The one that I lived in the shortest amount of time was Korea. But I've spent multiple trips going to Korea. First when I was in the U.S. Army, and then back when I was a civilian. But a lot of the countries I've been to have either been through work or through the military. And as I like to say, conference rooms and hotel rooms look the same everywhere in the world. And so now I'm trying to get to the places that I went for work on a pleasure basis to really dig into the culture, the people, the localities, I'll take a quick example. Germany. I lived in Germany for 3 years, went to Cologne, the city of Cologne, probably 100 times. Never went to the cathedral in downtown Cologne in the center city. Fantastic story. The church, the cathedral took 350 years to build. And they were like less than half done. And then the Prussians came in and occupied. And because the Prussians are very structured and organized, they completed the other 50% in 50 years,
Wow.
where it took the folks up there in Cologne 300 years to get half of it done. So it's just little things like that you just don't learn about if you just go for business and you're in a conference room or you're in a workplace or a hotel.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this about me. In my early days here at Gatemaster, before we had the technology of Zoom and all the things that we could do remote with computers, in the early 2000s, I was still traveling to all of the attractions that we went to put the floppy disk in or the chip and load the program and get them all set up. And I'd oftentimes spend several weeks, if not months, with their teams, helping them get set up. And it was my job. We don't even do that anymore because of the way that computing has changed.
Indeed.
Or the way that we're interacting with even the parks that we partner with. But, I got really lucky because I did get to stay with them for those weeks at a time. And I was lucky enough that they would always allow me to be a part of their culture.
Yeah.
My sister Tiffany, who works with me, she went to, I can't remember, I think she might have been in Jamaica doing that same work. She's been with the company 18 years. And she says she'll never forget when they just brought her a whole fish head for dinner, because that's what they ate, right? Like maybe they were joking with her. I don't know, but she loved it, because my dad's a butcher. We ate everything. I'm just saying, like, if it was on the table, you had to eat it because Dad caught it. You know what I mean? So that was but that was really cool, and I'm glad that you recognize that. Like, you want to go back and experience these countries.
Dive in deeper. And again, when I lived in China, the diet is very different. It's very different. And, one of my favorite stories is, because I was always the senior executive, I was the bigwig, and so I always got at the center of the table, and they always brought me this soup, and I'm eating this soup every time. It's the same. I mean, it's very tasty, but the noodles were so hard and chewy. And my Mandarin's not good. I do speak a couple languages, but Mandarin I know enough to be polite, say hello, goodbye, and anyway, so I'm eating this soup, and I turn to my translator. I'm like, his name was Hang Fook Sang. I go, Fook, I've been eating this soup every time. I said, it's not good chicken soup. The noodles are so tough. He goes, no, not noodle. He goes, fish lip. That fish lip soup, very expensive. And I looked at it, and it was little tiny. I thought it was white noodles, but it was the fish lips. And I was like,
Oh, how funny.
I've been eating the fish lip soup now for, the past year.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story. I mean, funny. Well, speaking of your travel and all that you've done, I'm curious, what you think about, with these global trends that I'm sure you've seen in your traveling, what do you think North America attractions are underestimating when it comes to maybe the technology that's global? Because I'll tell you, I was just in same thing. I was in London. I've been in London twice this year for several times for work. And I did get to go to Greece. I have to mention, I did go to Greece for fun this year. It was probably the first trip I've really ever taken for fun because, you're a business owner and there's a lot of times like if I don't go anywhere unless it's for work. But in this case, I took a trip, wait till I was 46 to take a trip to that. But I do notice when I'm in these other countries that there is a difference in the technology. And it's got me thinking about maybe what your thoughts are we underestimating the technology here in our attractions in North America, or do you think we're leading? What do you think about all that?
So it's a great question. And I think, as I kind of think about the technology landscape that's out there today, we really are at an inflection point. We are, I think, at the precipice, at the beginning of a complete and total transformation of not only technology, but of society. So if I'll start with, we started the conversation with spatial computing.
Yeah.
I'll add to that artificial intelligence. And then kind of the coup de grace on the back end is quantum computing. If you lace those three things together, we're talking about Star Wars, Star Trek, pick your favorite sci-fi genre. That's the world that we're right on the edge of embracing. And so, when you look at what the possibility of what if is, it's absolutely incredible. And we're going to see it in our lifetime. I'm an old guy. I've been around a long time. I'm pre-digital, and, we had a party line at my house when I grew up, and we had to share with 3 other people down the street. So, where we were and where we are today and what's getting ready to hit Gen Z and Gen Alpha, we could see faster than light travel. We could see the elimination of cancer. We could see the elimination of Alzheimer's and polio, and go on the list of disease and maladies that have afflicted human beings for the past 350,000 years. We could be at the precipice of all that going away.
Yeah.
But reeling it back into kind of the tactical around the entertainment industry in North America, I think there's a couple. I'm going to put 4 things on the bullet list. The first is, I think that the blurring between the physical and the digital is only going to accelerate. And I saw a recent study, very interesting, that 68% of Gen Z prefer a virtual experience than a physical one. So I think that that blurring of those technologies is going to be like the next wave. And I think, the big players who have big bucks to invest right now, because this stuff isn't cheap right now. It's tough. If you're a small attraction, how do I compete with, Guardians of the Galaxy and,
Sure.
Rise of the Empire and, this just crazy stuff. So that's one. I think the other part, which I think smaller attractions can get into, and I think we're underestimating, and we're just starting to scratch at it, is hyper-personalization. Creating experiences for our guests where they are the center of the universe. And by hyper-personalization, not only tailoring the entertainment experience and the stay at the hotel and the dining experience, but putting all that stuff together so it's hyper-personalized, but also a digital presence whereby I know all the places that you went, that you ate. I know that you searched 25 times online for packing lists to go to Disney. How do I use AI and the technology to completely enhance that experience? So I put digital presence and hyper-personalizations in there. And then the other part is just the creative piece. And we talked about music earlier and my passion for music. So, I'm running a company. We've got hundreds and hundreds of employees all over the world. I don't have a lot of time to do the things that I love. I love writing and I love poetry and I love music. Well, I now can go and I can use AI tools. And we were just on a cruise. My wife and I were just up, and it was my birthday, and we were in Canada, and we were cruising down the St. Lawrence. And I'd never been down the St. Lawrence. Been to Canada hundreds of times. Been to the Maritimes, but I'd never been there as a tourist. And so we're traveling down the St. Lawrence, and I'm seeing the stars and the moonlight, and I start writing music. And I wrote a whole album. I wrote 12 songs. I used AI to help me write the songs. I used Google Image Generator to generate the cover of the album. I used AI to help me clean up my lyrics. And then I crafted all these songs. And so I wrote a song about Halifax and about Nova Scotia. I wrote a song about Montreal. I wrote a song about Quebec. I wrote an entire album over the course of that 10 days that we were on that ship. And it's beautiful. It reflects my soul and my personality. The music's amazing. So this technology is going to allow us to put the human at the center. And I think that's the other part about that I think we're missing, is that the human in this is going to become the most valuable aspect. The AI stuff is going to drive the economies of scale, and it's going to drive the cost incredibly down. And so the cost, a premium experience, is going to be us being able to go see a human play Frankenstein versus a digital version of Frankenstein. Yes. And so I think there's those big things around creativity, around, prototyping and evolving, and then letting the human bring in the ideation. And a great example would be kind of our relationship in the United States with most of the world. We are the financial hub, and we are the idea hub. Look at the back of your Apple device. It created and designed in California, built in China. That's going to be all of our ideas, all of the cool ideas. And now AI is going to help us expand them in ways that we never even thought about.
Well, I love that you said that, because I was actually on a podcast last week with somebody who is big in the INTIX, which is the International Ticketing Association. So naturally, Gatemaster, we belong to that. We go. And the conversation around AI came up because, there is a lot of controversy around whether or not AI is going to be taking jobs and what that looks like. And I don't think he liked it when I said, hey, candle makers had to figure something else out when electricity became a thing, right? Like, this is how innovation happens. This is something that, like you said, is happening in our lifetime, and it's happening very quickly.
If you try to get in front of this, you're going to get hit by a Mack truck. It's not. Yeah. You're not going to stop this.
You're not going to stop this. And and I agree with you. Like you mentioned with the music. I mean, I find that what used to take me hours at work, just some tasks that I do, now can be done in minutes. And you know what? And I think that's where the creativity piece comes in too, right? It allows me to be so much more creative because I'm not trying to figure this one thing out.
That's right.
Or I'm not having to, it's a lot more difficult for me to research data than it is to just ask it to get me the data that I want.
Right.
Right. Because everything is so data driven. Or even like I just got back from my annual physical. The doctor asked me, and she had to record me. She said, "Are you okay with me using AI as part of our session?" And I'm like, I didn't know I was expecting that. And she goes, "Listen, it's faster than I am at reading results." And I was like, okay, like, sure. I mean, I trust it.
Every study that comes back has shown that digital AI doctors are faster and more accurate than human doctors.
That's fascinating.
And it's not a slight against someone that spent 12 years of their career going to school and trying to learn that stuff. It's just that the human mind wasn't evolved to retain information on the scale that a modern society has today. Your brain can't, it's there, but unlocking it isn't as easy as a digital AI can do, and unlock that with 100% clarity and 100% accuracy, and can compare thousands of test samples simultaneously and give you, here's the result that you want. Yeah,
it's fascinating stuff.
But scary, Sondra. It's scary for so many people. It is frightening.
It is frightening, and I think a lot of it is just the unknown, which is why I'm grateful for somebody like you coming on the show and teaching our audience about this, because I do agree that we see these big brands like Disney, Universal implementing this kind of technology. I mean, even before Epic was open, you could go and see that augmented reality. You know, they had the map, and they were already implementing all of this type of technology. But when we look at the smaller family owned operated parks who, like you said, don't have those kind of budgets, you know, I appreciate you giving us some foundations for what they can do, because I agree. Personalized experiences are where it is going to be at for attractions like this. And and what I'm also excited about from all the things that you're saying, as somebody who is an advocate for accessibility, I think this is only going to make things even more accessible than what we've ever thought imaginable in the past.
Absolutely. Yeah, the democratization of the guest experience is happening before our eyes. And it's interesting. I'll draw this analogy from my days when I worked at Orbitz and Auto Trader. So I was in the travel industry for years, so I worked for American Airlines, and they had a tech company called Sabre Systems. And, I think the interesting part that the travel and entertainment industry can learn, or the entertainment and attractions industry can learn from the travel industry, is the power of infrastructure. Being able to take your technology and connect it to multiple places and
Yes.
allow for self-service. And I think it's one of the things that GateMaster does great with their platform, is the ability for the end user to, self-serve what they need to get done. And I think that is so important. You look today, for most of us who are booking just a regular kind of, I got to go on a trip, I got to get a hotel, I got to get a car, you take care of all that yourself online.
Yes.
And so what enabled that was all the plumbing in the background that allowed the rental car company and the airline and the hotel to put all their stuff into a single location, have open APIs and allow that information to come back and forth, allow real-time access to inventory and data, create personalized travel experiences for you by allowing you to collect all that information being on hand. I mean, 20 years ago, you went to Liberty Travel, you went to a travel agency,
Right.
and they helped you with that stuff. And today what's happening, and I'll give a great example because we travel a lot, my wife and I. If we want a highly personalized experience, we go to a travel agent or someone who is a person on the ground. Hey, tell me the best restaurants that you like to go to. Tell me, the secret hidden place that nobody knows about, that's not on the internet, that's not on some AI chat group or, someplace. So I think, again, that shows the power, but all of that for the travel industry was enabled by the plumbing. And I think that's where the attractions industry has to get to. They have to have this ability that if somebody wants to completely self-serve and get everything they want personalized and online and digital, they can do that. They can do, hyper visualization of the attractions and the restaurant before they go, and they can see a virtual layout of the ship. And, I'll give you a great example as well. We were on this cruise on the St. Lawrence. We were Princess Cruise Lines. One of my former VPs is now over there. He's working at Princess, and they spent the past 5 years building a digital experience on their ships. And you have a little tchotchke, almost like Disney's Magic Band. You wear it as a little, digital tracker. It's RFID and near frequency enabled. And so wherever you are on the ship, they know where you're at. So I can pull up my phone, I can pull up my app, and I can say, you know what? I want a martini. Right now, I want a lemon drop. They know where I'm at, and they'll bring it to me wherever I am on the ship. I get to my cabin. My cabin door automatically opens for me when I walk in. I don't have to unlock it. I don't have to swipe something. You just walk in. I walk up to a bar, and the bartender, because it has near frequency on it, he sees me come up. He knows that I've got the beverage package, and he saw that I bought a martini last time. He doesn't even ask me if I have a key card or how I'm going to pay. He just goes, "Hey, Mr. Smith, glad to see you. I saw you drank a lemon drop last time. You want one of those or something else?" I said, I'll take a whiskey on the rocks. Great, here you go. He doesn't ask for my credit card, doesn't ask for my room cabin, because it automatically just gets billed. So I think but all of that is infrastructure. That's Wi-Fi adapters, and it's network cables, and it's routers, and you got to have the plumbing. And I think that's where the attractions industry has to learn, is you've got to get the infrastructure. And Disney has struggled with that. They've got, you've got Wi-Fi at all the parks now, but it's not ubiquitous. It's getting there. They've got the enabling pieces, but you've got to build the foundation if you're going to build a truly immersive digital experience.
Yeah. Oh, I love everything that you're saying. I can't tell you how many times we have parks come to us and they say, well, we can't have internet in this part of the park. And we're like, well, you can. We got to just get you the infrastructure, right? You have to build infrastructure around what you want the guest experience to look
Yep.
like, for sure. I think what's really interesting, if we can move to kind of a little bit of ticketing and point of sale, because I know that you've got
Sure.
some work that you do with that as well. But I think it's so fascinating, and I appreciate you giving us that little plug there for Gatemaster, because one of the things that we get asked constantly is, well, what if this automation takes jobs away, right? And we mentioned that a little bit with this, but I've not found that to be the case. I found it to be more what you were talking about with the Princess Cruise Line, where the bartender knows your name and has access to information and they can just better serve you. I think that's really where the attractions need to be looking is
Correct.
it a tool that can help your team better serve the guests? Because I don't think the team is going away.
The team can't go away.
100%.
I'll give you a great example again on this. We had an attraction that we worked with. We did analysis of their phone system. Okay. They were having a lot of guests coming in from overseas. It's a Florida-based attraction. They were missing $10,000 a week in sales because there was nobody there at night to answer the phone. And when we initially said, hey, let's put an AI voice agent that can take the call, book a ticket, answer questions, AI can do that. Well, you're going to make me fire Susie, and Susie's been with me for 20 years, and she answers our phone, and she handles our ticket office. I said, I'm not telling you to fire Susie. What I'm saying is give Susie an AI assistant that can extend her reach, help her be more effective, answer calls 24 hours a day, sell tickets 24 hours a day, help you not miss any guest that wants to come in and who's calling from the UK or Germany. Oh, by the way, the German speaks broken English. Put an AI in that's bilingual or trilingual or quadlingual. And so what we found when we did analysis and a deep dive on all their tool sets and their analytics, they were missing all this revenue opportunity, and we helped them seize it. And Susie now is freed up to do other things around the park to help guests that are there that are having issues. Let me resolve that customer issue and help you have a better experience here in the park. So it is an extension. It is not a replacement. It's an augmentation. And it's going to have to be that way. And so that, when someone comes in, they want a premium experience, you can give that to them and you can charge for it. And let the AI handle the routine. As long as you got all the plumbing done and all the automation integration with your ticketing and your POS, and people can pre-order their food and they can pre-order their experiences, let the technology do that like we do in travel. And I think you're going to have a much more profitable and better experience for the guest.
Yeah, I love this. And I love that you said a more premium experience, because I think that is truly what is going to, you mentioned that, what is it? Which generation prefers?
Gen Z. Gen Z, they love virtual. And I'm sure Alpha is going to be the same. They just haven't started hitting on Alpha for the, the status.
Well, you know what I think about the Alpha that's interesting is, like, they don't even look at stuff. They don't even search stuff anymore. They just go, give me this information right now. And I have a feeling that is going to be the expectation from that generation.
Oh, absolutely.
That quick answer. My phone's actually trying to.
There you go. See, it's talking to you.
Talk to me and give me some information. But, you mentioned the premium experience. I kind of want to go a little bit back to that, because I think that is really what this interfacing with technology is allowing your everyday family run park to do. We're buying time back with this technology for our team members.
And for smaller attractions, they got limited staff, limited budget. They need as much time back as they can get.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit. So we about this AI bot that you mentioned just a minute ago, because we've known each other for a little while, going to Florida attractions, which, by the way, is one of the best associations on the planet. They put on a great event. So if you're watching, that is a plug for the Florida Attractions Association. It's a
great group of people. And when we joined, they welcomed us like family. And
Yeah.
that's really, they become our friends. And so, it's an event we look forward to every year. And I agree, they are a great bunch of people.
It's a great bunch of people. It's one of those shows that I don't send my team. I go personally because I love it, because it is like going and seeing family and friends every year. But this year we started talking about this bot that you have that is interfacing with customers, like you said,
Yep.
allowing people to have 24/7 access to attractions and conversations and getting questions answered and buying tickets. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about that? Because I think it's such a fascinating.
Yeah, we have a lot of conversations in the team and with our customers about artificial intelligence. And, so I think the big thing to understand is AI has personalities. And
Yeah.
I have some very strong opinions about where I think AI is going to go. And I'll share those in a couple seconds here. But I think the first part to talk about is that we've gone out with different attraction customers and we've helped them find the right AI to help them solve their problem. And my favorite is, we have a customer, they're a Renaissance festival. They do, jousting and, beer halls, and they have a Celtic day, and they have, lords and knights and princesses and the king. And so they needed an AI that could interact with guests and would understand medieval speak. And so we went through multiple AIs and we had to find one that could actually chat in AI speak. And so, you call them and you talk to them or you chat online, and the AI will say, "Good sir, how art thou today? Fair maiden, how art thou today?" And so it will talk and interact as if they're inside that universe of medieval times or Renaissance festival. And we got another festival that we're working with, and we're helping to train. It's an annual Scottish festival, and we found an AI that speaks with a Scottish brogue and knows, what's your clan and what's your kilt. And I can do an Irish accent, I can't do a Scottish one. But AIs have personalities, and some are good at some things, and some are not so good. So, like, if you want to have a legal document put together, use Claude. Claude's much better. If you want something creative, go use ChatGPT. But I think what's going to happen in that whole world is AIs are going to evolve, and you're going to have AIs that are very specific. So we're building an AI today for a medical staffing company. That AI has to know everything about the medical industry. It's got to be able to speak in their language, use their terms, understand their slang. And so to do that, we're training, I'm not training anything, somebody on my team is, but we're training that bot to understand every aspect of their business. And and I think the one that showed up here most recently, I guess, what is it? ChatGPT has spent $150, $200 million building their first large language model, and then DeepSeek, which the Chinese built, cost $5 million. In 5 years, it's going to cost probably $500,000 or $250,000 to build yourself a large language model. So big companies are going to be able to build large language models that run and understand their business. So as we build out this technology, we're trying to find the right solutions for companies. And if you look at a small attraction, so you can get a current on the market GPT, Claude, Gronk, and you can rent those, and you can go in and automate things like we just talked about for a few $100s a month. Let's put AI in front of your customer and answer questions so that you're relieved of those 90 or 75% of the questions. 80-20 rule. Have your guest experience people, your human, deal with the tough issues. Take that AI in the back office, help consolidate, automate, and reconcile your books, do analytics on where you're losing and making money, help you deal with multiple payments. That's stuff that a small business can leverage for a few $100. It doesn't have to be tens of thousands of dollars. So what we're trying to do is help people step into this world, learn what AI can and can't do, separate the wheat from the chaff, because there's a lot of misnomers out there and a lot of BS,
Sure.
a lot of promises being made about, this is going to make you a millionaire and save you millions of dollars or make you millions of dollars. Not true in all cases, but step into it. Find those little areas where our customers and our attractions and our entertainment venues can have success, not spend a fortune, solve some real problems, get some more time back, get that leverage, and then invest in those premium experiences we talked about.
Yeah, I love that. And you kind of reminded me of something. So, one of my favorite movies is Cable Guy. You remember that movie with Jim
Remember.
Carrey? And when he's like brings his buddy into the jousting, and it's funny because you said the AI speaks the medieval language,
Yeah.
but there's that one point where the server breaks character. He's like, no, he's serious, buddy. Like he totally stops speaking in that language, and you don't got to worry about that with the AI. It's
Well,
gonna stay on character.
I mean, AIs do a better job of recruiting. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got proof. If you let an AI do the interview, it has no bias. It doesn't care what the other person there
Wow.
and looks like, sounds like. It's going to ask the same questions of every single candidate. It's going to analyze the same way for every single candidate. And so what we're seeing for AI agents that do the recruiting, higher retention, better candidates, stick longer with the job, and perform better on the job when they start because the AI did all of the questioning in a completely unbiased way for every single candidate that came through the pipeline. So
Wow.
it's going to be a very different world.
I mean, you just blew my mind. Well, I have so many questions for you, and I don't know if we have time for that. And you've been so generous today with your time, and I'm just blown away by this conversation. But selfishly, I do have a question for you because I know you've been kind of following Gate Master for a little while, and from an outside perspective, I just want to ask here right now. What is one area that you maybe think platforms like ours, or maybe you feel like we need to go this direction, are innovating? What direction do you see tickets innovating and point of sale innovating in the future for attractions?
So I think I'm going to go back to API, robust API interfaces so that, I'll go back, and this term has been around forever, but it's the 5 ANYs. And I don't know if you ever heard this before, but it's any application, anytime, anywhere, any user, any place. Okay. And so making your platform highly flexible and open, I think is going to be critical because the glue that's going to push all this stuff together in the future is going to be AI. So if you want to enable the future, you got to make sure that you have a robust API set, and Gatemaster has that. They've got that. And the other part is real-time data infrastructure, which you guys also have. And I think that's also super important. Everything now is instantaneous. You were talking about the kids, hey, what's happening, and they're talking. I do that. I sit in my car and I yell at my Siri and Chat GPT and Claude the whole route in. My wife screams at me, "You're not going to get the answers." And I said, "But you're supposed to."
Yeah.
And to do that, you've got to have the APIs, you've got to have the real-time data, and you've got to have the connectivity. And so I think, Gatemaster is doing those things, and our partnership with you, I think, is one of those that's illustrating that. But I think it's the partnership that you do with, a lot of the people that you work with.
Yeah, no, I like what you said about infrastructure. I think that is the key for sure. I just don't know if the hardware's caught up yet, right? Like,
It's going to get there. Quantum computing is coming, and then my big question about quantum computing is, where's all that manipulation happening in quantum space? Because even the guys that built it don't know. And I shouldn't say guys. When I say guys, I mean, the scientists and engineers, both male and female, who are doing that, they don't know how that quantum level mechanics is working. It's still theoretical. But what it can do and how it does it at scales that are just unimaginable. And that's why I get super excited as a nerd and a Star Trek fan, a Trekkie. I'm still waiting for, warp drive, engage. I'm looking for that warp bubble.
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, we're gonna have a whole other conversation on
Whole other
quantum computing
conversation,
one
quantum
day.
computing.
That's I agree. That's some wild territory right there. Well, Steve, it has been so inspiring to talk to you today. It's a very thought-provoking conversation. And you're always so much fun to talk to.
Well, thank you.
Every time I
Appreciate it.
see you,
As you are.
I always enjoy talking to you. And you've given us such a great window of what's possible for from not only a global perspective, but for emerging technology, human-centered design. I love that you're still keeping this human, you're still humanizing all of
It's
this.
all about the people, Sondra. Nothing works unless it works for the people using it.
Right. And I love that. And, I think that's exactly where we're going to see a lot of attractions heading. And again, just really want to thank you for being here. If somebody would like to get a hold of you directly, and I hope that's okay, what's the best way? And we can post it in the chat too, once you tell us.
Shoot me an email, smith@tollanis.com. And if I don't answer, I'll probably answer, but then I'll hand it off to someone who can do a much better job answering than me. Again, I'm good at kissing babies and shaking hands and painting a big vision, but there's people on my team that are a lot smarter than me that get stuff done every day for our customers. So they can definitely help you figure out a problem. And listen, it doesn't have to be something that's a paid engagement. Just have questions. You want to knock around some ideas. I'm happy to jump on a call, get on a Zoom, and we'll just have some conversation, because this is just too exciting. There's too much happening. There's too much opportunity. This is going to be one of the most exciting times for the people that are alive today in human history. So I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah, I'm along for the ride too, and I'm really excited to see where we go. So thank you again for being here.
No, thank you.
See you soon.
All right, see you.
Take care, Steve. All right. Well, once again, thank you to Steve for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed that show. I did. I'm also probably a Star Trek sci-fi nerd myself. So sorry, I'm not calling Steve a nerd. I'm calling myself a nerd. But I used to have a shirt that said "I love nerds" in my 20s. So maybe that is a theme for me. But I love this conversation and where we're going with technology, and I hope that maybe you took something away from today's show that helps you maybe understand what the future looks like a little bit more, or maybe how you can create more personalized experience for your guests and your attractions. So once again, I want to thank Gatemaster, our sponsor, for making today's episode possible. If your attraction is ready to integrate smarter systems, streamline operations, and prepare for the next wave of innovation, visit gatemaster.com and see how they're helping attractions embrace the future today. I want to thank you all for watching Live with Sondra. And until next time, keep innovating, keep creating unforgettable experiences, and keep leading with the heart. And I'll see y'all soon. Take care, everybody.